Hey everybody, how you doing? My name is John.
I'm Gary.
Welcome to Dapper Daddies. That's Dapper Dilly. She's got her Denver Broncos scarf on, which should let you know this is the sports show that Dapper Daddies is doing. We're gonna be doing a lot of different stuff. So, take it and leave it. If you don't like sports and football, then you can just move on to the next one. But we believe in sports and love sports, so we just thought a sports show would probably be a good idea.
I agree. We love sports. According to a lot of people, too much. And actually, according to myself, too much. I'm a Cardinals fan. And I don't know a lot of winning in sports. So, it can be tough sometimes, and I wonder why I put myself through it.
Yeah, Cardinals, Coyotes are gone. And then Diamondbacks, they've done a couple things, but they just haven't been anything for a minute. So
yeah, the Suns have gotten close. The Diamondbacks have won it once. They were in the World Series a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Coyotes never was a huge fan. I'm more of a New Jersey Devils fan there. But I know the drought of sports in Arizona.
Every time I complain about it, he is like, I don't want to hear it. You Broncos have 3 championships. Avalanche have a couple. Buffs have 1.5. Depends on how you want to look at it, but they have 2. They had to share one of them. And then the Rockies even have one from the beginning, even though they're horrible now, and even the Nuggets have gotten a couple, even though they were horrible for years. So I've lived through horrible sports teams before. But I really didn't know it until I moved to Arizona and became a Cardinals fan and a Suns fan, along with all my Colorado teams. And thank God Gary's kind of come along with the Broncos and the Buffs and has become a fan over the years as well. So he at least has I want to say secondhand love of being able, it's at least you get to enjoy, some of that. So, but yeah, it is tough when you're not. Man, those Cardinals, that one Super Bowl, man, they made it, and then, wow.
Literally all you had to do was push Marvin Harrison Jr.
Marvin Harrison.
All you had to do was push Harrison, right? Harrison was his last name.
Harrison,
just push him out of bounds at the end of the first half, and it would have been game over. I'm telling you, I know he got the interception, but the clock would have run out. Anyway, I'm over it. Not.
He's not over it. Mm-mm. I will tell you he is not over it, and that was 2010. So
2008.
2008. There you go. See? Wow. Yeah. And you know what happened right after that is the whole economy crashed. So there was something to do with that. I'm just saying.
Karma attacked the financial system.
Yeah. That was horrible. Well, we lived it, and you say we've been, Broncos we've been really lucky. But heck, we didn't win a championship until 97, 98. So we went through 4 losses. John Elway was absolutely horrible as a quarterback in the 80s. He had some really good flashes and stuff, but at the beginning, he wasn't any good. If John Elway would have come up in my opinion, if John Elway would have come up now, he wouldn't have made it because he didn't really get good until his maybe 5th or 6th year. And they just don't give quarterbacks that long to develop anymore. Do you agree?
No, they don't give him any chance at all. And you know what, though, on the other side of that coin, I'm a Cardinals fan, so there are some quarterbacks who get too much of a chance. That's all I'm going to say about that, not to start an argument.
Absolutely. No, I get that, and they do. I get that quarterbacks are kind of, but I just don't feel like they give them they don't give them much of a chance. Unless you flash, you're done. Mm-hmm. Within 3-4 years, you're absolutely out of there. So John Elway would have never made it in this system. He might have been a better quarterback in this system too, though. Who knows? Because they didn't develop them the way they do now, and they don't. My dog is nuts, so crazy.
She loves football too. She's trying to tackle a hat.
Yeah. It's a crazy dog. All right. So what we're calling this episode is No Off Season: Why Sports Control Our Lives. So we've already gotten into it a little bit, but man, I don't know I think if somebody could come up with a reason why look at the world. They just had the World Cup. So it's not just us with football and baseball or whatever. Their football, our soccer, is way bigger than anything that we could do. And so it's insane how sports grab a hold of us as people and run our lives. Because I've talked to a couple friends that are footballers, and they're fans of football teams, real like soccer football. And they're like, it runs our lives like your football does here. Yeah. Like they're British, and they're just like, dude, believe me, I just saw that they had the different trophies and what they cost. And the trophy for football, our football, the Lombardi trophy is solid silver, and it's about $1 million. So a lot of them, like the baseball one, was only $500,000. The World Cup trophy is over $50 million. That's how much that thing is worth, because it's solid gold. It's just insane. So there's a little bit of money in football. There's a little bit of money in our football. It's just incredible what, but why does it grab a hold of us like that? Why do we go nutso for soccer and football and everything else? It's just insane. I don't know what, I'm sure if...
well, we're going to get into it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what that is. And I'm sure psychologists have looked at it, but...
I think there's a lot of reasons. And again, we'll talk about them. But yeah, I mean, going back to, just like memories you have, or growing up with your family, or where you grew up, or what you played in school, or there's a lot of reasons that it starts to.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, it is what it is. For us, the hardest part of the year is just that off season. And that off-season struggle. What are we going to do all year? And how we fill that up a little bit, because it is a really empty feeling. It's like getting divorced, except 10 times that. It's hard, and it's, why does it control our moods? Because, and I guess, we talked about it a little bit, and you've just brought up, because it's never just a game. You know what I mean? It's loss of our routine, and it's that love of the players and the game and what they do, and it's everything, right? It's everything that's, and you had a really good point the other day. I think it would have been better if they maybe did the college schedule during the fall, and then maybe during the winter start around January, start the NFL, or vice versa.
Yeah, it would be awesome.
Bring it, just to make it year round. That'll never happen, but that would be
weather.
Cool.
The weather's the problem with that, is that they don't want, the pros or the college players, playing in 110-degree heat, running around the field. That's just, safety concerns. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but from January to March, you wouldn't have that. Like if you had college from August to
I'm just saying,
December.
If you had the whole year represented, so you never had to go without football.
Yeah,
right?
Well, that's why you put the Canadian League in the summer.
Exactly. Well, it's a little cooler in Canada, right?
It's cooler I didn't mean that Canada's not important. It's just cooler in Canada.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Okay, don't lick my face. Thank you.
He's a dog lover, but he's not a full-on dog lover.
Not
like
a dog licky lover.
Yeah, I'm weird like that. But anyway, so I agree. I think it'd be nice, but they just, and I've noticed this before. Like by the 5th or 6th week, it's a lot. Like you're like, wow, I'm watching hours and hours and hours of football, because we don't get that during the spring, summer, even the late winter. We just, once February ends, we're just there, we're done, Yeah. So yeah, it's a tough deal, and it makes it hard, and even Dilly gets upset. That's why she's so mad right now. She's just mad that there's not any football on, and it's taken so long for the Broncos to play, huh? Because you love your Broncos. She actually watches football with me, which is crazy. Anyway, and then football versus other sports, we wrote down. So I'm a big fan of NASCAR, which I've actually just gotten Gary into.
Which I'm not thrilled about.
Yeah, so we can start calling him Billy Joe Jim Bob too. But I like NASCAR. My dad and I we grew up watching it, and I'm really into F1 and Indy and stuff. He's not as much into those as he is NASCAR, but I think Michael Jordan owns a team with Denny Hamlin, and I think that was kind of why you got excited and you actually like the drivers that race for that team. But that seems why you got excited about that.
That's not why I got excited.
No.
I mean, that's why I picked the drive. I like Reddick.
Yeah.
Because it's Jordan's team, and he had a cool car. It looked like a Nike shoe, and it had the Jordan Air, Jumpman on it, and I thought that looked pretty cool. And I was like, well, if I got to watch this nonsense, I may as well pick a team. And well, that one looked the coolest. But the reason I got into it is just sitting and watching it with you and then learning look, I thought NASCAR was just cars going left for hours. And it just seemed pointless to me. Like literally just guys in a car going around in a circle. It seemed absolutely pointless. But then when you start to watch it and you learn the intricacies of it, like how they, block out another guy, or the mindset you have to have on when to pit, what tires to get and how many tires to get, and do you wait for the caution flag, and and then you see all the workouts they have to do to be strong enough to turn that car. I didn't know they didn't have power steering on the cars. Just like it's a real workout or whatever. But the reason I got into it is because of you.
Yeah.
Is because you were really into it, and I was watching it, and then I was learning more, and then all of a sudden I had a vested interest because I picked a team. And then I found matter of fact, what probably got me into it more than the guy I really like is the guy I really don't like, whose name is Hocevar. I just think he's a punk, but it's nice to have a villain, right? Everybody wants to have the Goliath that your David goes after. So once I had a guy I was rooting for, once I understood the intricacies, and once I had a guy I was rooting against, not against, I'm sure he's a good human, but once I had all of those things, it fed my need for sports. Does that make sense? That's what I was looking for. So it wasn't just I saw a guy that seemed cool and I loved it. It took steps or whatever and really investing and learning about it. And then again, having a hero and a villain, because I think that's how all stories are. That's how all sports are,
Yeah. Well, and I just showed him some stuff on some videos. We were watching crashes that have killed people throughout the years, but it showed people like Kyle Busch, who just passed away from pneumonia, but it showed him as a young man and how much of a villain he was, and how a lot of these young kids are villains because they're young, they're given millions of dollars, and they get to drive fast cars, and I'm sure they got women all over them, and so these kids are Goliath, kids are Goliath when they're young, and so they don't have the maturity that we have. So they're all very much villains and in your face and stuff like that. So once I showed him that, he's like, "Oh, well, they were all villains when they were young." I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much." And they don't have AC, so they're driving that whole race without, it's tough. And the reason I really like NASCAR is because it starts in February when football ends, and ends around the mid and November when football's going on. So it gives me something to watch and keep me going throughout the non-football season. I'm not sure I'd be as into it if football went year-round either. So, but I watch hockey, but I'll watch hockey. I love my Avalanche, but here in Arizona, we don't get as many games, so I don't watch a lot of the regular season games unless they come on. Then I'm excited. And then but I usually don't watch it until the finals because that's what they show. Same thing with the Nuggets, and honestly, the Rockies are the Rockies. I don't ever watch them. So we like to I get those free tickets because I'm a veteran. So we go to a lot of basketball and baseball games and stuff. Not as many football. We go to every ASU game. And we are there for as long as I can handle it. Go Devils. My daughter went there. So I can say go Devils. I'm a big Buffs fan, but I'm also a Devils fan. They're not a big rival, so it's not like I'm CSU. But anyway, so the only reason I love my other sports, but the main reason I watch them is because it just kind of bridges that gap. Of football, even though we do have certain things like we've got, DNVR, which is a great podcast. They also do Phoenix PHNX, and they have one in Detroit. They have one in Philly, and then one in Dallas now. It's all city.
Chicago as well.
Yeah, Chicago. So they've got, I don't know, I think they have it in Chicago, not Detroit. They might have it in Detroit. I'm not sure. Anyway, but all of them are really great guys. So if you want to watch good football content and you're in one of those 5 cities, DNVR is great. But yeah, so that helps bridge the gap a little bit too. And obviously the stuff in between, like, we were talking about how do you cope? Well, you watch trade rumors, scouting reports, preseason, the draft, and watch an old game. So let's cover them all.
So you're saying, how do you cope when there's no football on?
Yeah. How do you cope when there isn't football on?
Yeah.
And the first one, which I don't do, but this man is a fanatic, trade rumors and scouting reports.
That's So I want to go back to something you said just in passing. You said, I love my Avalanche. Like, that's why it's more than a game, because it's my Avalanche. You don't play for the Avalanche. You don't play for the Avalanche. You don't even live in Colorado.
Yeah.
You don't know any of those people personally, but they're your team. They're your family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They are.
And that's how I feel about my sports too. And again, hell or high water, I'm going to love them. I think I've proven that by being a Cardinals fan since the day they came to Arizona in 88, I think it was, mid to late 80s there. But yeah, it's my team. I care about them, But as far as coping, because the Cardinals don't have the success that I wish the Cardinals had and that a lot of teams have, maybe you feel if you're a Browns fan, or Jaguars or Panthers or I don't know, one of the teams that traditionally has not been amazing, what it's like, and the draft becomes my Christmas. The draft is my Super Bowl. The draft is the time where I'm not looking at a 1-12 record. I'm looking at hope for the future. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why it's important to me. So I follow the draft probably more than 98% of the humans on the planet. I really do.
I don't know about that, because if you watch the draft on all those humans that actually go to the draft, which is a goal of ours to go one day when it goes to a warm, we just don't want to go to Detroit or Pittsburgh or somewhere where it's cold, or Green Bay. Yeah, let's go to a Green Bay draft. No, thanks. But what I was saying though is that
it's popular.
It's popular, and that I think, but you were way more into it than I am, even.
But even if you took all the people that went to the draft, and let's say they all did the same research and watched all the videos and stuff, and all the plays from college players, and all the analysis and everything. Even if you took all those people, the number of people that go to the draft, the 350,000 or whatever, out of how many people, I still think it's a low amount. But I'm saying that, like, from the end of the season till draft day, I watch no less than 3 hours of college football content and draft analysis from Mel Kiper, from NFL Stock Exchange, from, just everybody under the sun. I watch the guys who only have 5 followers because I want to see if we agree on stuff. But for me, the draft is so important because you've heard the term, there's always next year. Man, I'm 55 years old. It's always been next year, and it's always going to be next year, and it's always going to be next year. But luckily, you see the Chicago Cubs break 100-year winless streak, you
see Detroit do well. You see the Buccaneers do well.
Yeah, exactly.
You see all these teams, and that's one thing I was going to say is even though, and that's my hope for him every year, because I'm lucky. Walmart bought us. We're very lucky in Denver, and I would love nothing but for you to just Delilah.
She's jumping on the oven.
Delilah.
Sorry.
What are you doing, dude? She's trying to get in. We just had dinner, and she's trying to literally jump on the counter. She's a brat. Anyway, she's a Bronco fan, but she's a brat. But no, it's one of those things that you do see a Detroit do well, and it gives you that. And that probably does give you that extra hope.
I have a very small hope window.
Maybe someday, you can get the Cardinals there. My question to you, do you think that they're going to Bidwell will have to sell the team before it ever gets there?
No. My personal hope is that he does someday.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think that sometimes people are successful despite their own efforts.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we have the Montfort family that owns a big beef company in Colorado, and they own the Rockies, and we wish they would sell it to Walmart too, because a guy that doesn't have any money, and then you have Walmart that has more money than anybody, I would love to see that for you guys, because I think that would be a huge help.
Jeff Bezos, if you're listening, the Cardinals are for sale.
Buy them, please. Are they for sale?
No, that's wishful thinking.
You're putting it out there.
Yeah.
He's just putting it out there. But no, it's just we're very lucky in Denver to have all these teams that do really well. So it is always my hope that ASU does. Like ASU did really well last year, so that was really fun for
2 years ago.
2 years ago, excuse me.
Yeah.
That was fun for me to watch ASU. I'm a fan of ASU anyway, but to watch him be happy about them doing well. And honestly, what you think about Carson Beck or don't think about him, I personally think he's going to be the savior of the Cardinals. I'm putting that out there in the universe because I think the kid could do it.
I think he's going to be a lot better than people thought, but still, that page is yet to be written.
And he's about 15 inches taller than Kyler Murray.
15 to 20, yes.
Well, not with the hair helped, but yeah, that guy. Anyway, sorry, Minnesota.
Hey, I love you, Kyler. I still have a place in my heart for you, but it was time to move on.
Yeah. So. Hope you enjoy it.
So filling our time, that's how I do it. I do a lot of the draft analysis, and then once that's done, you have your free agency. You watch the players that are coming over, pay attention to the open workouts and the preseason and that sort of thing. I follow my PHNX Sports every day to hear what they're talking about. I even follow the coaches and the
and there's a lot of really good content now on all of this. So, like, you've got even if you have a team like the Cardinals, you do have your pick of content to go look at and watch, and it helps a lot. And one thing that's really helped me recently, because we didn't really have it before with the Colorado Buffaloes, we have a lot of kids that are going to other teams and playing, like Shedeur Sanders going to the Browns, and my boy T. Hunt going to the Jaguars along with Bentley, and all our guys like Zay Weaver's playing for the Cardinals. He's so it's really fun. That's been fun for me because we really didn't have a lot of. We had 2 or 3. We had Landman, and we had I can't remember, but anyway, we had some other 1 or 2 out there playing. Like we had the kicker for Green Bay for a long time. Mason Crosby was an amazing kicker and was in the. So I didn't really follow Green Bay because of him, but it's nice to watch Travis Hunter do well and Shedeur do well and all these kids out there doing well. Like the Panthers have Jimmy Horn Jr. and one of our defensive guys, and so it's nice to see that, and it actually helps to. Enjoy football even more for me because I do see a lot of guys out there playing in other teams, and I've never watched a Browns game because I wanted to in my life. I watched all year last year because I wanted to see what Shedeur was going to do. I watched every T. Hunt game that he was in.
Travis Hunter.
For
those who don't know.
Sorry, T. Hunt. What? So anyway. I did what. But anyway, so that's kind of, I'm excited about that. I don't know about you. I think you've been excited about it too because you have your boy.
Cameron Skattebo.
Scat.
My favorite college player ever.
And shakes his head.
Which is saying a lot because I've watched a lot of great players. I'm an old man, but Cam Skattebo just changed how people look at the toughness of Arizona State University.
And really college football in general.
And I love what he's doing in New York. I will say with the knee injury, you shouldn't be doing the backflips that you're doing right now because your coach is going to beat your ass. You need to knock that crap off. I'm glad it's feeling better, but don't chance it.
Yeah.
But I want to actually take that back to where we were talking about the draft. That's my favorite part of the draft. It's not just the hope and everything, but it is the stories that go along with the players, the kids, right? The number of times you see somebody who, like the sad stories, the people who thought they were going to go in the first round and they're the last one in the green room, and then the chip on their shoulder when they come out to prove the world wrong. The Cardinals had that with our We got a guy. We got Will in the second round last year, and he was supposed to go first round, but there were some concerns about his health, and he came in with a giant chip on his shoulder. But that doesn't take away the sadness in that room, you know. So there's a lot of players that you hear that, and then there are the ones that, you know, have the stories. Like one of my favorite is James Conner, who is a running back for the Cardinals. But when he was coming out of college, he played at Pitt, and he was actually diagnosed with cancer, and they didn't know if he was even going to be able to play football ever again. And then he gets drafted by the Steelers, and just the tears and the family and the emotions and all that. And then to see him come to the NFL and actually be better than anyone expected. So you not only overcame cancer, you overcame low expectations, that third round draft pick. And it's just beautiful to see. And I guess, like I was saying, one of my favorite parts of sports is you have your hero and then you have your villain, like that thing you're going against. You also have that story, that kid that you're rooting for. And it's not always kids who come out of my college. You know, it's not always guys that play on the Cardinals.
For sure.
There's so many stories in the NFL. The number of stories you hear about these kids who, you know, buy their parents a house, and then you hear the story about the mom who worked 3 jobs. Deion Sanders, his mom had many jobs, you know, and then just being able to retire the parents or take care of them or take care of the family. The kids who come into the league who have parents who are incarcerated or who have passed away.
Jimmy Horn Jr.'s dad is incarcerated.
And through all of that, they succeed.
They still do.
You know what I mean? Through adversity.
Yeah.
So it's about the hero defeating the villain, and it's about overcoming adversity through hard work and effort and talent, and then achieving those goals. So,
and boys done good when they had basically everything going against them,
right? You
know, in the world, and they still make it.
How many of those guys in the same situation end up incarcerated as well?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
and that's one thing, you know, Deion Sanders gives a lot of shit, but I'll be honest with you, that guy makes sure that those men, because not everybody is going to go to the NFL, and he's really good about making sure the guys that probably won't make it, he's honest with them, and he lets them know, hey, this is you need to learn your money, and you need to learn finance. He brings financial people in to teach not only the coaches but the kids how to take care of their money, how to get a career afterwards if they're not going to be in the NFL, because not very many people make, especially at Colorado, not very many people make it in the NFL. So he's really good about making sure that they, and that's why Kenny does the same thing. Kenny Dillingham is he's a player's coach, and so's Deion. And, you know, I think they just do a really good job teaching these kids how to be something other than football players, you know? I love that part of it.
I want to, you just brought up Kenny Dillingham, who you know I love like crazy. And I know you love Deion Sanders. And I love
Dillingham.
First off,
he's great.
I think they're both incredible. And I think that the reason that we love them is because we feel like our kids are in good hands.
Yeah.
And how you said my Avalanche, they're my Devils, they're your Buffs, right? But you want to make sure that if you're not there, they can be trusted. And you know what I mean? And they have the best in mind for those kids.
For those kids.
I love it.
Because you do wonder why, you know, we fall in love with these kids so much. We do. We follow them forever. You know, it's just and you brought up like my dad. You know, my dad used to throw we got him a rubber brick because he would throw his beer at the TV. We couldn't afford a new TV. My mom would freak. My dad would throw. That's how so maybe that's where that passion comes in, is because I would watch my dad say things to Craig Morton and Red Miller, who were the coach and mid-'70s quarterback of the Denver Broncos. He would say things about them that I wouldn't repeat to a criminal now. I mean, he was. And he would literally throw his beer at the TV. He would yell at it. He would hit it. He would, oh my golly. Yeah, it was just crazy how crazy my dad would get. And now I am my dad. Because I don't throw things at the TV, but I could. I should. I shouldn't. because it's expensive. But
Yeah.
but you get so involved in these stories and these kids, and that's actually, you hear about women in sports. That's why they get involved, is because they like the stories. They like to hear about the players and how the players' wives and what they're.
I know a lot who curse and throw stuff too. So.
Yeah, no, they do, but they get involved because they really get involved with the players and who they are and their wives and where they shop and what they do. And look at Travis Kelce right now, but they do. That's a lot of women the 5 women that watch this channel. Comment, let me know if I'm right or wrong. A lot of women will get in, or if you're a dude that has a wife or spouse, whatever. But yeah, women do get into sports more for the stories and the feel of it more than they do. I'm telling you, I may be off kilter, but the women that I've talked to that love sports get into it because of the players and the stories, and then they get mad at it. And
I'd love to hear, because I don't believe that's the case, but everybody, that's your opinion. I'd love to hear it.
It's just what I've been told. Because I'll talk to women and be like, why are you into this? Because I've gone to a lot of like public things for CU and stuff, and I'm like, why are you so into football? Women usually are. They're like, it's the players. I love the players. I love who they are. I love who they date. I love the stories. And it's not like they don't get into the football part of it, but I think they're drawn in by the stories. And then it's like you in NASCAR. You got in because kind of the stories and stuff I was telling you and stuff. And boy, once you learned about NASCAR and all the particulars about it, you got hooked. And I think that's what I'm saying is women get into it because they like the players and they hear about
I think
and then, I shouldn't generalize it everybody, because I guarantee there's probably some men that do that too, but I doubt it.
I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of like Alicia.
Yeah.
Right? She's into sports, not at all because of stories, but because she grew up with a dad who was a diehard Broncos fan and would throw beer at the TV and all that. So the same reason we are.
Right.
Like it was ingrained in her, and it's her family. I think that's huge, especially in the South, like starting with like Alabama and Georgia and Florida and all of that. I think like regionally, I think that ladies who were into football in that area, it's probably very similar to us, in that they got into it because family tradition. You live in this house, you're a Raiders fan or whatever that is. Sorry, I said Raiders.
That's a dirty word. Sorry, cussed. Raiders are a dirty word. I just thought of a new sport that we can do. And we could tie a little cowboy on Dilly's back, and so when she goes round and round, we can count how many seconds it stays on.
Yeah, that's good.
No,
but yeah, I mean that's. So anyway, people are into sports for all different reasons, but that's kind of why we're into it, the family and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, my dad, big time. He took us to CU games. He delivered mail to a bank in Boulder, actually in Gun Barrel, and the family that owned it was the Williams family. They built the Williams Towers in Boulder, 2 big towers, and donated. They were just super rich family. They owned banks and stuff. And he owned some seats on the 50-yard line at Folsom Field to the games, and my dad delivered mail to him, so they would give him tickets every year for the next season, and otherwise we would have never been able to go to CU games. I've been going to CU games since I was 5 years old, and maybe 7 years old, because my dad got these tickets and could take us. My dad couldn't do that otherwise, so thank you to the Williams family and that kind of thing. But yeah, so that's the reason we went, and you're probably right. I shouldn't generalize that women are in that. Just the women I've talked to that's why they...
I'm sure some are.
Maybe women that don't grow up with their dads doing that and they get into football later.
I think then that's probably the answer to why some men who didn't grow up around it.
They probably do, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. And I shouldn't generalize everybody, but it just kind of hit me that
it's crazy. I'm actually probably more on that side because I didn't really grow up with my dad, and my mom didn't give a darn about sports. I didn't get into sports until late in high school. And that's because all my friends were into sports, and it was more about like camaraderie and wanting to fit in. You know, it's the same reason I started smoking at 14, because all my friends were smoking at 14 and I thought it was cool. So I'll never forget, like, the first sports fandom of any kind I had was when the Mets were going against the Red Sox in the '86 World Series. And there was the coolest kid that I went to school with, who I thought was the coolest, was a big Mets fan. And so I was everything I could about the Mets, right? Oh, okay. And then eventually I started to care about the Mets. And then the Cardinals came to town and somebody took me to a game. And then I was like, well, I guess this is my team because I live in Arizona. And then eventually, but it was really to fit in. You know what I mean? It wasn't the stories either. It was the camaraderie and the friendships and that sort of thing. Yeah.
We were talking about sports fandom, you know, and the rivalries. Like talking about the Raiders and, you know, how much Denver Bronco fans hate the Raiders and the Chiefs. He hates the Seahawks and the 49ers because they're in his division. So we always have that and we hate it. But there's always, we talk about friendly banter. We don't really have it because we hate the same teams, so it works out. But yeah, it's funny when you talk to other people, you know, when we go to a bar or something and somebody has a Chicago shirt, you know, whatever. And you just kind of, you know, banter at them because you hate Patrick Mahomes. Anyway, yeah, that's my issue. And probably most of us in Colorado, right? But yeah, a lot of people don't like him either, so that's a lot of it. Everybody says they don't like him. But yeah, it was
no, we don't do those imitations.
But we also have family bonding that we wrote down, and you know, it's like us. You know, we're like family. You know, he's like my brother, man. So you know, it's definitely a bonding thing for us because we always talk about it, right? We're always talking about football and what's going on. We watch a lot of the programs and stuff like that.
Dude, how sick is it when you're out and about? I mean, you get it a lot more because I live in Arizona and there are a lot of Arizona sports fans here.
Right.
So to see somebody in a Cardinals shirt, whatever. But you're here in Arizona, like the way your face lights up and you automatically talk to a stranger when they're wearing a Colorado hat or a Broncos hat.
Yeah,
like automatically, and you will talk forever.
Yeah.
And share stories.
And you it was like you've known them for 20 years. I wish you would stop eating my chair, Dilly.
I was in New Jersey I was in college, so I was 20 years old. I was in New Jersey, and my book bag was a Phoenix Suns book bag. And I was walking through the Ocean County Mall in Toms River, New Jersey, and I saw a guy walking in the New Jersey Mall with a Suns bag too.
Oh, wow.
And this was around the time of Charles Barkley and Kevin Johnson, and it was right when we were going to play in the finals against the Bulls and sadly lose. But I saw a guy in New Jersey with a Phoenix Suns bag and I flipped out. I chased the guy about 7 or 8 stores down to have a conversation with him, only to find out, I thought immediately he was from Arizona. I come to find out that he wasn't. He was born and raised in New Jersey, but was a huge Charles Barkley fan. And so I started to tell him how I met Charles Barkley and stories that I know of Charles Barkley and the Suns, and he just was in heaven. But instant friendship when you see somebody in your team's gear.
I bet a lot of San Antonio fans feel that way.
When they love Charles Barkley. They love churros and Charles Barkley. Those are the two things they love.
If you know, you know. All right. You know, do you have any where were you moments?
Tell me what you mean by that.
All right. So where were you when? Do you have anything where you're like, I remember when this happened and where I was and like
you're talking about like the space shuttle. People remember they were when the space shuttle blew up, or
like I remember
Kennedy or
I wasn't
9/11.
But
yeah, I know what you mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so like you're saying like what are my sports? I remember where I was at the exact moments.
Yes. If you have any more, I know you kind of said a couple. But.
No, for sure. I mean, I remember. I mean, this one is not legendary or anything, but like. I remember the exact chair I was sitting on in the living room of the house that I used to live in when they didn't push Harrison out of bounds in that Super Bowl, and I felt like that ended the ended the Super Bowl. It isn't even about his toes not being inbound at the end of the game. I'm not going to get into that. But if they had just pushed him out. So I remember where I was for that. I mean, big sports moments. Like, do you remember where you were? You know what? I do remember when the Diamondbacks won the World Series in 2001 against the Yankees. I was living in Los Angeles, and I remember it was Game 7. It was the bottom of the ninth, and I was so nervous to watch the ending of the game that I stood outside my house and I cracked the blinds from the inside so I could see just a sliver of my TV. Mm-hmm. And I watched the entire ninth inning of Game 7 of the World Series with my team from outside my house, chain smoking because I was a big smoker. I was chain smoking outside my house, staring through a little slit in my blinds. And then I went crazy and ran down my street in Northridge, California, where I was almost definitely the only Diamondbacks fan, because if you remember, of course, 2001, 9/11 had just happened, and it was that feel-good story. Everybody thought, man, it's just written in destiny that the Yankees are going to win this year because of 9/11 in New York and all that. And I actually get that, and it kind of hurts my heart that they didn't get that. But it doesn't hurt it too bad because my D-backs won a World Series, and that's the only national championship my state has. So, but yeah, I remember that exact moment. How about you?
I have the craziest dog ever. Yeah. Anyway, mine is obviously a Broncos moment, but I was working at a car dealership in Loveland, Colorado, and we all decided to watch the game at the dealership together. It wasn't that big. I think like 5 of us worked there, but all our families and stuff, and did a potluck and everything. And I just remember when Mike Shanahan told Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis had a major migraine and had been taken out of the game because he couldn't see. I get those too. I get ocular migraines. So he couldn't see. And I remember Shanahan said that it doesn't matter. You're the decoy. He said, you're the decoy, man. And we needed this touchdown. And he goes, don't worry about it. You're the decoy. John's going to run it in. He said, just go out there. And because the other team didn't know he had a migraine. So sure enough, Terrell lines up, and they think for sure Terrell's going to be running this in. And boy, you watch the center of that line, and it just collapses, and John Elway just kind of waltzes into the end zone. And it was just like everybody there, like family, and we freaked out, and it was just such a fun moment because I got to enjoy it with everybody. So was
that your first Super Bowl?
That was our first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, no, not our first Super Bowl, but our first Super Bowl win. We've been to 4. We got beat by San Francisco, Dallas, Washington Redskins, and Seattle.
My next
Seahawks.
question is, how did Davis feel with his migraine after 7 gigantic men jumped on top of him?
From what I understand, it went away.
Yeah, right. Your head doesn't hurt so much when you got a ring on your finger.
It's so much better.
That's true.
Yeah, gold always helps migraines, let me tell you.
Gold. Everybody, if you didn't know that, gold helps migraines.
Yeah, so I get migraines. So please send gold. Anyway, so that was one of the things I'd written down, was just kind of a big moment. I'm sure we would love to know your big moment. Please comment and tell us your big sports moment, whether it's with your family or whether you were at a game that they won. And I've never been fortunate enough to be at a championship game. I don't know if you have, but I haven't.
But that's my favorite live moment. I worked at the University of Phoenix, and I had a boss who was a huge Green Bay Packers fan.
Poor guy.
And it was the year after the Super Bowl. It was an NFC playoff game, and it was the Cardinals versus the Packers. And my boss knew I was a big Cardinals fan, and he had tickets on the 50-yard line for this game. And it was Aaron Rodgers for the Packers against Kurt Warner and the Cardinals.
Wow.
And we went to that game, and if you remember it at all, it was back and forth all game. And my boss, who was very straight-laced, nice guy, just a really kind guy, looked at me no less than 6 or 7 times during that game and said, "Fuck you, Parker, fuck you," and just in my face. And we were giving it, and I was yelling at him the same way. We were just yelling at each other. I mean, it was all in good spirits. We're still friends to this day, but we were going back and forth, cursing each other out. And the end of that game went to overtime. And in overtime, the Cardinals sacked the quarterback, got the ball, and ran it in for a touchdown to end the game in overtime. Mm-hmm. And I jumped up so high that I came down and I dislocated my knee. And my boss, who was 15 to 20 years older than me, was on his knees crying like a baby.
Wow.
And I am jumping up and screaming, and he is just devastated. And then after about a minute, we both looked at each other and realized what we were doing. And we just stopped and shook each other's hands and said, "Good game. We'll get you next year."
Yeah.
And that was it.
Wow.
But I'll never forget that game. That was so deeply ingrained in my
so
brain.
intense it sounds.
So intense. So amazing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't usually go "fuck you, Parker" because I know I already know how bad he feels about everything, so I'm usually pretty good about it. But that had to feel good for once in your life that they actually were doing well. No, because you knew they were going to lose the next one.
No, I was talking about your dog who took the shoe.
Oh, hey, no shoes. What are you doing?
What's next?
That's not your shoe. All right. Anybody who has dogs understands that one.
Yeah.
Let's see. You were talking about the atmosphere and tailgates. I wrote down Dad throwing stuff, but we already covered that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just tailgating. And so I'm going to take you up to a game this year, to Colorado, the Kansas State game in Halloween. We're going to come up. And I'm really excited to show you Boulder and how they tailgate and how they do stuff. I've got some friends there. The guy's a chef, and Mark's really great, and he cooks and has lots of really great food there, and it's all catered, and they just welcome us all in there, and I get to see all my high school friends, and
love it.
So that's kind of fun. So that's what that means to me. It's about seeing old friends that I haven't seen forever, and old friends that actually are rooting for the same team as yours, and so that's going to be fun. Halloween, it usually snows on Halloween, so that would be fun if you got to see snow. I've seen plenty. I don't need to see anymore, but he wants to see snow.
I've seen it like 10 times in my life.
Yeah, so and that's why I moved to Arizona, because I don't like snow. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I would actually love it if it snowed, because I love football in the snow, and it'd be fun for you. But I remember when talking about an old moment, but I remember this is 86, 87, somewhere around there, and it was in Boulder, and it snowed 2 feet, and they didn't clear off the stands back then, so we were standing in 2 feet of snow. Well, my buddy Gary, not this Gary, different, my high school buddy Gary, we were going to a place called Pogo's. We were either going to Pogo, we were going to Pogo's or Thirsties after. If you're from Colorado, you know those two names, and you're old. But Gary decided to, in 2 feet of snow and 10 degrees, I invited him to the CU game, and then we went to, because it was a CU against Nebraska, which is a big deal back then, and we won, which was amazing. But Gary's standing there, and he has, this is 86, 87, remember, white shirt, pink sweater, not on, but around his neck, like he's Thorogood Marshall, and then he's got, remember those loafers? You put the penny loafers, the penny in? Those without socks on, and white pants that were thinner than you. And he's out there. He froze his ever-living.
Did you mean
thank God for beer?
Thorogood Marshall or Thurston Howell?
What's that? Thurston Howell.
Way different people, guys.
I knew what I meant. Sorry.
I'm sure both important.
I'm sure, Thurston Howell is just as important as
Thorogood Marshall.
But doesn't that sound like a guy that would wear a pink shirt around his neck?
I imagine there's a Thorogood out there wearing a sweater right now around his shoulders going, I don't see the problem with this.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. I doubt he's probably a polo guy, not a football guy.
Yeah, kind of just to wrap it up here, we're going kind of long, but I think that the important thing to me is that people know the line of delineation between appropriate fandom and inappropriate fandom. And what I mean by that is you hear story after story of people getting into fights at games. How many videos have you seen on YouTube of Raiders fans fighting Chiefs fans, or LA versus San Diego or whatever? I remember when I lived in LA, there was a Giants fan who lost his life over a fight with some Dodgers fans. Wow. And I'm not saying either one is to blame. Bad people are all over. There are bad Cardinals fans. There are bad Bronco fans. But there is an understanding that, like, there's a healthy love of sports and having a healthy love of your team and supporting your team. That there doesn't have to be a fight. There can be healthy debate, and sometimes in a bar you're gonna or in a game you're gonna look at your boss and say "F you, Parker," right? Like that can happen, but we really need to work on our kids. And I see it like you go to a high school game and you'll see parents fighting with each other in front of these kids and stuff. That's the unhealthy stuff. That's what needs to really be taken a look at. That's just a societal problem. But
let's enjoy the sports. Let's not make them worse than they already are. We're already living in a weird, bad world. Exactly. Let's enjoy the sport, and you can do that healthy banter with whoever, but don't overdo it. And listen, I know alcohol usually has a lot to do with that, but let's be prudent about it. Let's not really mess with the I'm all right. Like when we go to an ASU game and we see the opposition, I don't flip them off or do it. It's just
unless it's a U of A. I am very cordial to everybody.
Well, there's that.
Just kidding.
But he's not like mean to people. Like
Never.
You might be like boo U of A, whatever. I personally don't. I mean, I went to a game for ASU and I had an ASU shirt on and a CU hat on, or vice versa, because it was ASU against CU, and I wanted to I like both teams, so I wore a shirt and a hat.
Tell me about the time you were at a Buffalo game sitting right next to a Huskers fan.
No. But what I'm saying is no.
It's a little different.
But a little different. But I had kids throwing pizza at me and stuff, and it's like, don't do that.
That sucks.
I wasn't like saying bad things to them or whatever. So let's be good about our fandom. But no, it's exciting. Football's coming up, so that's why we wanted to do this. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on this. We hope you enjoyed it, even though we may not be talking about your team. We have our teams. I'm sure you have your teams, and we would love to know what your team is. Let us know who you root for. Yeah. And hey.
Your where were you moment, right?
Yeah. Where was your moment? And heck, man, we got 4 weeks till preseason, 6 weeks till the real stuff starts. So we're getting there, guys, and appreciate y'all. And we'll see you next week on the next Dapper Daddies. Be sure and tune in for our guitar lessons. We're doing real well with those. And we'll see you next time. My name is John.
Gary.
And we'll see you next time on Dapper Daddies. Thanks so much.
Pigskin, peace out.
What?